Do you actually need a sports TV, or do you just need a TV that stays clear, bright, and consistent when the action gets fast and your room gets bright? Hey, I'm Alex from RTINGS.com. Today, we're ranking the best TVs for watching sports based on what actually affects your real viewing experience. Brightness and reflection handling for daytime games, motion clarity for fast camera pans, upscaling for lower resolution broadcasts, and viewing angles for when you're watching with friends. So, should you go OLED for perfect blacks and wide seating, or mini LED for raw brightness and punch? Let's get into it. If you like what you see and want to support independent, non-sponsored, data-driven reviews, why not subscribe? It's free and it really helps us out. If your budget is flexible and you want the most complete sports TV experience, the Samsung S95F is the one you should buy. The headline here is how well it fits real life. A lot of sports viewing happens in rooms that aren't perfectly dark. It might be a Sunday afternoon, the curtains are open, and you don't want to rearrange your entire living room just to avoid glare. The S95F's matte screen coating makes a huge difference in that kind of setup, because reflections are far less distracting than they are on most glossy OLEDs. You're not constantly fighting lamps, windows, or overhead lighting. At the same time, you still get OLED's biggest advantage for sports. The picture stays solid no matter where you're sitting. If you're hosting people, spreading out across a couch, or watching from an angle while you're moving around the room, the S95F's viewing angle helps keep the experience consistent so everyone sees a good image, not just the person sitting dead center. And because it's OLED, blacks are perfect. That matters more than you might expect for sports because broadcasts aren't always bright and sunny. A lot of games have darker shots, darker uniforms, or dimmer arena lighting, and OLED keeps those scenes looking rich instead of gray and flat. Another underrated strength is upscaling. Most sports are still broadcast in HD, so your TV is constantly upscaling it to 4K. The S95F handles this well, so you're less likely to see a soft, low-detail image when the camera zooms out or when you're watching a lower quality stream. Finally, the S95F is simply a great all-rounder TV. If you're the kind of person who watches the game and then jumps straight into a sports game on a console afterward, it's loaded with modern gaming features too. That's not the focus of this video, but it's part of why this TV works so well as a do-everything pick. If you want one TV that crushes bright room sports, still looks amazing at night, and stays consistent across wide seating, the S95F is the top choice. If you like the S95F's overall idea, but you want to spend less, the Samsung S90F is the one you should be looking at. The reason here is simple. You still get that OLED sports experience that's hard to replicate on most LED TVs. Wide viewing angles, perfect blacks, and motion that looks clean and precise, because OLED pixel transitions are so fast. It's also still bright enough for a lot of rooms, and it does a great job with upscaling, keeping HD broadcasts looking sharp on a 4K screen. Where the S90F falls behind the S95F is bright room handling. Reflections can be more of a thing on this TV if you've got a lot of natural sunlight hitting the screen, and overall brightness is lower. It's still great with reflections, just not nearly as good as the S95F. Ultimately, if you want OLED sports strengths, but you don't need the matte finish and you don't watch in a very sunlit room, the S90F is the OLED value play. If you're not going OLED and you want that classic, bright, punchy, daytime-friendly sports experience, the TCL QM8K is the mid-range pick to buy. This TV's main advantage is brightness. It has the kind of light output that helps sports look lively in a bright room. It's strong enough that you can crank it up when the sun is still out and the room lighting is working against you. It also does a solid job handling reflections from indirect lighting. So, if you've got overhead lights on or general room glare, the picture holds up well. The caveat is direct reflections. If you place the TV directly opposite a bright window or a lamp that's aimed right at the screen, the QM8K isn't the kind of set that magically makes that problem disappear. If you can avoid those direct reflection setups, it's much easier to appreciate what this TV does well. Black levels are another reason this one works for sports. No, it's not OLED, so it's not perfect, but it gets impressively close for an LED TV. That gives sports broadcasts more depth, especially in darker arenas. You also get very good color punch, which helps the picture look engaging and alive, even when the feed itself is not the best quality. And it does a good job upscaling sports to 4K, so you're not left with a soft-looking image on HD broadcasts. The one real limitation is viewing angle. Like most LED and mini LED TVs, the QM8K looks best from straight on. If you regularly watch with a big group spread wide across the room, OLED is still going to be the better fit. But if you're mostly seated right in front of the screen, this is a TV that looks more expensive than it is. If the QM8K is just out of reach, but you still want a bright mini LED sports TV with a lot of features, the TCL QM7K is the one to buy in the lower mid-range. The QM7K keeps the overall formula intact. It's not as bright as TCL's higher-end model, but it's still bright enough to deal with glare from indirect light in well-lit rooms. So, in most normal daytime setups, you're not going to feel like you're watching a dim TV. Black levels take a small step down compared to the QM8K, but they're still bold and satisfying for the price. Colors also stay vibrant enough that the image doesn't look flat or washed out, which is important for sports because you're often watching big fields of color, team jerseys, and graphics that can look dull on weaker TVs. Like the QM8K, the viewing angle is relatively narrow. So again, this is a better choice when most of your viewing happens from the center seats. If you're always watching with people scattered far to the sides, it's worth spending more for an OLED. Upscaling is only slightly worse than on the QM8K, and it still keeps sports broadcasts looking sharp enough that you're not constantly distracted by softness, especially on wide shots. And if you also game, you're not missing out on modern features here. TCL keeps its gaming feature set strong across these models, which makes this an easy TV to live with if it's your main display for everything. If you want a bright, modern, well-rounded mini LED sports TV without stretching into higher price tiers, the QM7K is a great pick. If you want to spend less, but you still care about getting a solid sports experience, the Hisense U65QF is the budget pick you should buy. The first thing you notice with this TV is that it still gets bright enough in SDR to hold its own in many well-lit rooms. That's a big deal at this price, because a lot of cheap TVs look fine at night and then completely fall apart when you try to watch it during the day. The main rule here is placement. If you avoid putting the screen directly in front of a bright window or a lamp aimed at the TV, it has the brightness to push through typical room glare. For contrast, it does better than you might expect. It has local dimming, and while it's not perfect, it deepens blacks enough that the image doesn't look flat. It can't match the higher-end TCLs, and it definitely can't match OLED, but for a budget sports TV, it still gives you a satisfying picture. Colors aren't as vibrant as what you get from the pricier picks, but they're still good enough that you're not watching a dull, lifeless image. And viewing angle is still best straight on, like the other LED picks, so whoever sits in the middle gets the best image. One advantage the U65QF has at this price is upscaling. It does a slightly better job here than the QM7K, which helps with HD broadcasts and streams, so the image doesn't look as soft as you might expect for a budget model. It also has a solid set of gaming features if you want to do more than sports on it, but the bigger everyday difference is the smart platform. This one runs Fire TV, and it can feel a bit more sluggish than the Google and Tizen interfaces on the other picks. The good news is that most major streaming platforms are still easy to find, so you're not locked out of the apps you actually need for sports. If you're shopping on a tighter budget, this is one of the easiest ways to get a bright, capable sports TV that still feels like a modern set, not a compromise box. Alright, now that you've watched all that, here's the bottom line. The best sports TV isn't about one magic feature. It's about how well the TV holds up in real sports conditions. Bright rooms, fast motion, and imperfect broadcast quality. If you watch daytime games or you've got lights and windows in your room, prioritize brightness and reflection handling, because even the best picture quality won't matter if you're fighting glare the whole game. If you watch with friends or you've got a wide seating setup, prioritize viewing angles so the people on the sides aren't stuck with washed out colors and lifted blacks. And no matter what TV you buy, upscaling matters more than people think, because most sports are still delivered in HD, not true 4K. OLED tends to be the best fit when you want consistent picture quality from every seat and clean motion, especially for night games. Mini LED tends to be the best fit when you want that bright, punchy image that stands up to daytime viewing. Neither is automatically better, it just depends on how you watch. Make your pick and enjoy the game. If you want more details on these picks, you can check out our full test results, photos, and performance data on our site. So, what game are you most excited to watch this year? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Alex from RTINGS.com, where we help you find the best products for your needs.